Yeah, my head and my heart are just abuzz with ideas to follow through on and track down. And thank you so much to the previous presenters, and for those of you yet to present. It's just been really terrific. So thank you from a deep place of gratitude. I wish I could start with good news. The bad news, simply to get it out of the way, is that officially Christian churches are negative about psychedelics. You just heard the Catholic Catechism. There are even worse statements in the Presbyterian catalog of social policy statements, and less so in the United Methodist. Other churches just ignore it, and it may come from a place of ignorance, willful ignorance, to be sure. Sometimes you read those statements or listen to people, and it's just war on drugs mentality. I mean, it's, this is your brain on drugs, this is your theology on drugs. Don't ask any questions. That's it. So that's the bad news. Well, actually, it's worse than that. What I discovered in trying to work through some of this theologically is that there's a deeper problem. It's not just psychedelics are bad. There's a deeper problem. The mystical, the spiritual, the affective level, that's all really suspect. More so in some strands of Christianity than in others. I grew up in one where it was okay to claim to feel the presence of God. People talked about that, right? So then I moved to another, there were some failures there that I couldn't get over, war in Vietnam and racism and stuff like that. So I moved to another church, another denomination, and spent most of my life either in Presbyterian institutions. That sounds like mental health. Well, particularly if you're from Cleveland. I'm sorry, from Pittsburgh, because Presbyterian Hospital. Yeah. So I spent most of my life in Presbyterian institutions, that's well said. Although my own denomination is United Church of Christ, slightly more liberal, I guess, but it doesn't make any difference. The mystical is marginalized. The spiritual is held at great distance for fear somebody would feel something. Presbyterians call themselves the chosen frozen, right? I mean, a moment of silence is about 3 seconds. I mean, they really worry. So there's distrust. I mean, it's deep in the theology. It's not just trivial in the practice. It's deep in the theology. Karl Barth, the big Reformed theologian, absolutely distrustful of personal spiritual experience. So that's the bad news. Good news, of course, is we have Ligare. And we have Humphrey. We have this wonderful panel. And before long, Ligare is going to turn this whole thing around. No, there's a lot of work to be done, folks. My own denomination, I think, is going, well, I know they're going to meet this summer, big, national gathering. I think they've got a resolution on the track for consideration on the floor that will change fundamentally. It'll at least put one church on record saying there's something to be respected here and paid attention to. So there is that going on, Ligare and maybe some progress. The other thing is, don't you sense we're part of a wider movement here? It's not just little old us, our little growing team, but it's not just one little sliver that's looking. And this goes back to my gratitude to all of you. We are swimming in an ecosystem that is, it's picking us all up and carrying us along. So just profound thanks to colleagues in other traditions, other branches of our Abrahamic family, no religion, completely secular, the scientists, the researchers, social scientists, and let me call out especially MAPS. My God, where would we be without? So I'm just in awe and in gratitude for MAPS and what you have done to inspire a movement and keep the movement alive and keep it going, in spite of obvious. All right. Yeah. In spite of challenges, obviously, but yeah. To see you all in Denver, right, in June? All right. So let me make a number of points kind of quickly in passing. First of all, I argued in a paper that the MEQ 30 in particular, is not well designed if you intended to design it for Christian mystical experience. Christian mysticism, I should say. Well, the presentation earlier by Henna, way up in the back there, I hope you caught it. She made a beautiful critique of the MEQ. Beautiful critique, and exactly the same points that I would raise. I'm not sure if you put it quite this way. The MEQ doesn't mention love. How can you talk about, how can you talk about Christianity without love? Anyway, I've got 2 minutes, so how can I cover the rest without? Okay. Even so, the MEQ has been used to show benefits. Numbers are going to increase. There's no doubt about it. So moving along. Speaking as one who works within the context of a liberal Protestant expression of the Christian faith, the point of my work at this point in my life, free at last, retired, right? When intense, this is my question, when intense psychedelic spiritual experiences occur, can they lead to the rich spiritual transformation that Christianity values? That's the overarching question. Can they lead? And I want to distinguish between arguing. Okay, thank you. 3 minutes. Okay. I want to explore that. I'm working to explore that at 2 levels. And my particular gig here is, for 35 years, I taught in a theological seminary, mainstream Protestant clergy, basic theology. So, and I'm the only one that I know of on the planet who has that kind of work experience who's now asking these questions. God, I wish there were others. But anyway, I want to use that experience to raise these questions. What is the potential meaning of psychedelic intense spiritual experiences? So I want to argue that theologically, that it's theologically legit. I want to push back against colleagues in ministry and in academia who say, oh, well, you've all heard that. More importantly, I want to be part of Ligari and other networks that are trying to make this happen. Now, I think it's not a good option, echoing something that Jamie already said, I don't think it's a good option in Christianity to begin to think of psychedelics as a sacrament. In fact, I'm not even sure that sacramental is helpful. For one reason, already alluded to, irresolvable differences. I mean, we came to blows with each other on how many, how to define them, whether there are such things. All right, so throw psychedelics into that? Yeah. So my prediction is if anybody were to say that Christianity should label psychedelics as a sacrament, that would produce a blowback and counterproductive. So psychedelics, they fit no known definition within Christianity of a sacrament. There are other categories we might use, practices, an aid, maybe even a means of grace, but not sacrament. Better, I would suggest, to ask suggest that we ask how psychedelics can be a pathway from a brief but intense spiritual experience to a lifetime of spiritual transformation. How do we visualize that pathway? First, like I suggested before, I want to make that pathway theologically credible. I want to put the argument out there in front of Christian theologians and church leaders that this is legit. Don't marginalize it. Don't throw it out. Don't say it's bogus. Don't say it's satanic. This is not for everybody, but for some, this is real. This is authentic. So I want to establish that argument. Second, how do we make the pathway available, not just arguable, but available in the local structures on the ground? And what I'm playing around with in my mind is to think of local congregations sponsoring or creating space for and maybe promoting groups, possibly lay-led, with the invitation, if you're looking for a place to come and explore your spiritual psychedelic experience, possibly in conversation with Christianity, anonymity promised as much as we can, here it is, Tuesday night, basement of the church, right? I mean, we already have recovery meetings all over the place. This would be far different from recovery. This would be exploratory and integrated. The simple truth is it's already being done. Dave Barnhart right here is already doing this kind of thing. The question, though, that I would leave you with, and this is more for the lawyers, so what if some of these groups come in time, not in the first meeting, but in time, to the conviction as a kind of group conscience that the use of psychedelics, perhaps in a communal setting, is essential to their continued spiritual development as Christians and therefore to the practice or exercise of their faith? What if? These groups would not be churches, but they would possibly be located in, supported by, and officially blessed by congregations in various denominations, probably most typically liberal Protestant. My prediction is if that announcement were made in many metropolitan areas, the groups would fill up. I believe that would be very good for the people involved. I think it'd probably be good for the churches involved. Question I have is, would it be any good in terms of First Amendment and RFRA? Thank you.